Three reason why did Israel decide to partner with this small territory with only around 6 million people, a long way from its own borders? A country suffering international isolation has recognized a small territory desperate for international attention. That's the case with Israel and Somaliland, the breakaway Somalian province on the Horn of Africa, which Israel became the first UN member state to formally recognize as a country last week. The move might seem strange or unimportant, but it caused an enormous stir, provoking condemnation from across the region and triggering an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. So three reason why did Israel decide to partner with this small territory with only around 6 million people, a long way from its own borders? Reason 1. Securing an ally near the Houthis. Analysts agree the main reason is to build a base against the Houthi rebels in Yemen, just across the Gulf of Aden, who began attacking international shipping connected to Israel and firing rockets at the Jewish state, purportedly in support of Palestinians, after the October 7th Hamas attacks in 2023. Cultivating allies close to its enemies has long been an Israeli strategy, said Asher Labatsky, a senior research fellow at the Israel-Africa Relations Institute. He pointed to the nice structure of alliances Israel has built around Iran, including its close relationship with Azerbaijan, which borders Iran on the Caspian Sea, and the Kurdish region in Iraq, which borders northwest Iran. So Israel knew how to get really close to Iran when they needed to, versus the Houthis, where there was nothing, he said. I've been saying in the last year and a half, if you want to get closer to the Houthis, if you want to have more presence on the Red Sea, you've got to work with Somaliland. Reason 2. A theory about Gazan refugees. Somaliland, which declared independence in 1991, has been looking for allies and particularly seeking recognition from the United States in its pursuit of international legitimacy. In March 2025, reports suggested U.S. and Israel officials had approached Somaliland, as well as Somalia and Sudan, to consider accepting Palestinians relocated from Gaza under the so-called Trump Riviera Plan. The idea, which included the complete expulsion of Gazans, was quietly shelved by the White House after broad international condemnation and allegations of ethnic cleansing. However, some Israeli ministers continue to push for the relocation of Gazans from the Strip, calling for voluntary immigration. Back then, Somaliland did not rule out accepting the resettlement of Palestinians from Gaza, although it said diplomatic recognition and working relations would be a prerequisite for such a move. After Israel's recognition, Somaliland's Foreign Minister Abdirahman Adam denied his government had agreed to accept any Gazans in exchange for the move, telling Israel's public broadcaster KN. Somaliland has neither discussed nor agreed to host or receive people from the Gaza Strip on its territory. Dan Diker, the president of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, which is considered close to the current Israeli government, said he had heard Somaliland was willing to consider hosting Gazans. Reason 3. Countering the influence of Turkey. The final benefit, if not a deciding factor, for Israel may have been the chance to annoy and counter the influence of Turkey, its former ally turned adversary under the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Turkey has been a major supporter of the Somali government, has a military base in Mogadishu, and has recently announced it is working on energy exploration off the Somali coast. President Erdogan condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland, calling it illegal and unacceptable. But Dr. Labatsky said Turkey's activities in the region were a secondary consideration. Israel did not do that, recognize Somaliland, because of Turkey, he said. I mean, it's kind of nice to have, because for the current government in Israel, the perspective is that to kind of annoy in Yiddish Turkey is nice, but this is not why they did it. Israel is worried that in the long run, Turkey will be trying to encircle Israel. This is something that people are worried about, but this is not the first priority. And in Israel, you work only by first priorities.